today I'm going to show you how to make your own Google Classroom banner. I designed my Google Classroom banner so that I not only had my email, but I had an arrow with the days and times that all of my students are going to be required to log on to their meets to fulfill our required 2 daily meets, to help clear up some of the confusion around that. So I am going to show you how to do this through Photoshop. And all of you have access to Photoshop through the Adobe Creative Cloud. And you are kindly licensed by the school through your school email. Just as a reminder that you will need to log on with your school email, and when you do log on to Photoshop and the Creative Cloud, that if you are prompted, that you have a business account and it's not an individual account. So just keep that in mind when you're logging onto Photoshop. So when you go to Photoshop, I am going to be sending out a template, which is a Photoshop document, which is this one right here. I will be sending that to everyone in this email, but you are more than welcome to create your own. And the size requirements, if you are to do that, so if you were to create your own, you'd go to create new. You would title it whatever you want to title it, but your width is going to be 1000 and your height is going to be 250 pixels instead of inches. So you're just going to change those dimensions to that and click create. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to start from scratch, and then I will send out a editable template for you all to use for your own creation if you so choose. So I'm just going to click create. Everything's going to look a little bit different on my screen just because I'm recording on my laptop instead of the desktop. And so when you click create, you're going to get your workspace created for you. And you're automatically going to be on your move tool, which is the hotkey V. So the very first thing you want to do is use your paint bucket tool or hotkey G, and you are going to decide what color you want your background to be. I highly recommend you use a more pastel color. If you choose something a little bit more vibrant like this red here, it's going to be harder for students to, it's going to be too bright for the students to really read what's going on. So you want something nice and soft on the eyes, so a nice pastel color, and you can choose from any of the color picker colors, and it's all basically up to you. I do recommend though that you choose something on the lighter side or more pastel. It's just going to be easier on the kids' eyes. It's going to be easier on your eyes to read what's going on later. So with that being said, your background doesn't have to be a solid color. You can use the gradient tool. So if you click and hold on the bucket tool, you can get the gradient tool, and it will create a cool gradient just like this. That's really up to you and your prerogative. You can also insert pictures. I will go over that quickly towards the end because there is a little bit more work that goes into it if you want to use a picture instead of either a solid or a gradient background like we have here. So our next step is to use our text tool, or the hotkey T. If you press T, it will automatically switch that tool for you, and you're going to create a text box. Now your text only needs to be about a 30-point text. The area in this workspace is really small, so you don't have to worry about having really, really big text to fit in here nicely. So we are just going to say what the class is, and right now you can't really see what it is because my text is a completely different color. So I'm going to go up here and I am going to make it black and then I am going to make it a font size that fits the space. So let's see what it looks like at 24 and then at 30. So I'm actually going to take it down to probably about 24. And then I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to switch back to my move tool, which is just the V key or the V hotkey, or your move tool is over here, and that allows me to move the text wherever I want. And so I'm going to put it in the right hand corner, because remember, when we look over here at our banner, we want most of our text to be on the right hand side so that it is readable for our kids, because we have all of this class information or Google Class information on the left hand side. So by making sure that all of our banner information is on the right, it reduces the visual clutter and makes it easier for kids to read what's going on. So once again, I'm going to switch back to the text tool using my hotkey T, and I am going to be changing my font size down to a 12. You're going to see that sometimes when you create a text box using the text tool, that you'll get this nonsense text or filler text that comes up, and that is part of the program. You just quickly delete it, and then you just fill in what you want. So in this case, I'm going to be putting the email down here in the bottom corner. Label gets to be our example banner this morning. And so you can see that it doesn't all quite fit, so I'm going to drag the text box out here, and I'm double checking my spelling, and then I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller, just so that it fits nicely. You can always change your font. I don't know why Lemon Tuesday is my go-to font. But let's make this a little bit more legible for our students, and it's all a game of how things fit and how things look. So I just switched back to my move tool so that I can move this text into place. You can use your arrow keys, you can use your mouse, is up to you. So I have that in place. So we have the email here, we have the class name. Now we're going to get our arrow into place. So I just downloaded this image of an arrow off of Google. I'm going to drag it onto my workspace, and it's going to take a minute for it to process. So as you can see that it's an active image right now, which means that I can manipulate it, the size and the rotation of the arrow here. So I'm going to get it into place right about here, and then I'm going to hit enter. You can see that it comes with a little bit of a background that is okay. And the reason why the email is appearing over here is just simply because of the order of the layers. The order of the layers is super important in Photoshop. If you have a layer towards the top, it's going to be in the frontmost view of everything. So if you move something underneath, something else, you're going to change the ordering that you see it, if that makes sense. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now, just because that's not as necessary. I'm going to use the eraser tool after I re-rasterize this layer so that I can edit it. And I am going to erase the background here. So I'm going to increase my brush size so I save precious time, and I'm going to go through and erase the background of this image. Now in the template that I am going to give you, this is already completed. All you have to do is basically change the text and change the background to whatever you want. Everything is already in the place that it should be, and it's just pretty much just plugging in your information. If something doesn't turn out how you want it to, you can always use Control or Command Z, depending on if you're using a Mac or a PC. I'm assuming a lot of you are going to be using PCs, so it's going to be Control Z, and that will just take you a step back. So we're just very quickly and roughly doing this. What I'm going to be doing for the middle of the arrow is actually filling it with white, so that you have a nice clear background for your text to sit on. Because remember, you want this to be as clear as possible, so you don't want anything crazy colorful, you don't want anything too bright. You want everything to be nice and legible and clear. So we're just going to use the brush tool or hotkey B to switch to the brush, and you are going to just switch your color over to white, and then fill in that space. I just happened to download this arrow off of Google. I wasn't really paying attention to the background, so it just created a little bit more work for me right now. And if you, like I said, if you are not into creating your own, that's fine. I have that template for you to use. I just figured I'd walk you through all of the steps so that you can, make your own decisions on how you want to do things. So my arrow is done. I can zoom out a little bit here. If you have a trackpad, you can just 2-finger pinch, zoom, or if you are using a desktop with a mouse, you can hit Control- to zoom out, Control+ to zoom in. I'm going to move back to my text tool actually, and I'm going to zoom back in. And so Weibo has English 10, 4th hour. So on 4th hour, it is Monday, Wednesday. We're going to make sure our text is tiny enough. So we're going to use probably a 6-point font. And we're going to make sure that this is legible, so we're going to make sure our text is black on white instead of white on white. So it's Monday, Wednesday, 11 a.m. And we're going to hit that that check mark right there, so that our text is set. Then we're going to switch back to our move tool, which is hotkey V. We're going to actually transform the image so that we can rotate it. So we're going to hit Command or Control T so that we can transform the image. And then we're going to rotate it so that it fits within that arrow. At this point, if you want it to be a little bit bigger, you can stretch it out using the little arrows or the corner arrows, so that you can make sure that everything's fitting nicely. And then hit enter when you're done. So your banner should look like this. What you're going to do next is you're going to go to File, Export, and Export As. This is going to export your image as a JPEG. so that you can upload it into your Google Classroom. So you're going to rename it, so English 10, and then I just say 4th, so that we know that it's 4th hour. And then we're gonna, I save everything onto my desktop and then later reorganize it. So I'm gonna click save. And then now it's on my desktop. So what I'm going to do is minimize this, go to my desktop. Here it is right here. So I can open that up and take a look at it. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to go to Google Classroom, and how we're going to upload it is you are going to go to the designated Google Classroom, you're going to click upload photo, and then you're going to select a photo from your computer. So you're going to go to desktop and you're going to select, you know, the banner that we just made. And then you're going to drag the corners so it all fits nicely. And then you're going to click select class theme. You want to make sure everything is selected here because we designed the banner so that it will fit in the whole space completely. And then you're going to click select class theme, and then it's going to change it for you. If you find that it's not fitting quite right, you can always go back and change it. With the template that I have for you to use, everything is pretty much all set so that it fits nicely. I know this one's a little bit off, so it looks a little weird, but it's a little bit of trial and error if you're starting all the way from the beginning. So hopefully this was helpful and clear. So if you are, just going to do a solid background, that's that. If you are going to be doing a background with a picture, you have a couple more steps, and so I'm going to go over that now. So with a picture background, what you want to do is find a picture that you want to use for your background, and you want to make sure that it has a higher resolution. I recommend that it has at least 1,000 by 1,000 pixel resolution so that you have a lot of pixels to work with for your image. What you're going to do is, once again, you are going to drag it onto your workspace, and then you are actually going to hold Alt if you are using a PC, and or Option if you are using a MacBook, and you're going to drag it so it fits nice and snug on your banner. It's okay if it's a little bigger. Let's see here. What you do not want to do though is drag it without holding Alt or Option. It will alter your image. So like I was talking about the layers here, my image is kind of smack dab in the middle of everything. So I want to drag it so that everything is underneath. Now with this text, it can be hard to read. So one thing that I like to do is use my quick selection tool. So it's right here under W as the hotkey, and I just use the quick selection tool. I'm going to make sure I click on the layer English 10, and then I am going to select the entire word English 10. What I'm then going to do is click select, modify, and expand. What this is going to do is kind of expand the pixels about 5 pixels beyond what is selected. So it kind of enlarges the area here. So let's zoom in so you can kind of see that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to drag it underneath both of the text layers I have here. And I'm going to go back to my paint bucket tool. And what I'm going to do is, because my text is black, I'm going to contrast it with white. And I am going to click here and fill in the selected areas with white so that my text is easier to read. So in order to get rid of that selection, here we go, I hit Command or Control D to deselect. And so my text for English 10 is a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to do the same exact thing for the email. I'm going to go to my quick select tool. I'm going to drag and select everything. I'm going to go to select, modify, expand by 5 pixels. That's about all you need. I'm going to go back to my bucket tool or hotkey G. And then I am going to go back to that layer that I put the white on, and I'm going to fill that selection. And then hit Control D or Command D to deselect. And that way your text is easier to read and you get a fun background. So hopefully that helps everyone out. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email me. I am always more than happy to help you make your own Google Classroom banners. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.